the President of Mexico and the Prime Minister of Canada will sign the MOU as honorable witnesses between the National Institute of Indigenous Peoples and the Crown Indigenous Relations and Northern Affairs Canada.
That's the Prime Minister and Foreign Affairs Minister Melanie Joly at a signing ceremony in the Mexican capital earlier this afternoon. One of the last events in a busy 2 days of face-to-face meetings with fellow leaders from Mexico and the U.S. That document you see is a declaration of cooperation between the two countries on the protection of rights and freedoms of Indigenous peoples. Just moments ago, Trudeau spoke with reporters about his trip, including his meeting today with Mexico's president.
He has been extremely positive about the increase in trade that we've seen over the past years between Mexico and Canada and across the continent. He's been extremely enthusiastic about the increase in Canadian investment in Mexico. Yes, there are always going to be issues that we need to work through, but I am optimistic about the response that he gave and the commitments that we've seen to work constructively with Canadian companies, with Canadian investors to benefit, of course, the Mexican economy, but also our three countries.
Let's bring in the CBC's Karina Roman. She was listening in to the Prime Minister's briefing. She joins us live from Ottawa. So Karina, Trudeau had lots to say on a wide range of issues. What's your main takeaway?
Well, let's talk about Haiti first. He was, of course, asked about that, is why we're not sending in or leading a security force, which is something that the U.S. has indicated they would like Canada to do, and specifically whether or not the U.S. has directly asked him, whether Joe Biden asked him that at the bilateral meetings yesterday. Now, he was asked whether part of the reason we're not doing this is because we have a lack of soldiers, that we're spread too thin. He completely sidestepped that question, but he did say that, what we're doing already, they're hoping will work, and that would include humanitarian aid, sanctions on Haitian elite and the political class, as well as supporting the national police. He said, though, that they are working out things if things got worse. Have a listen to that.
We're all very aware that things could get worse in Haiti, and that's why Canada and partners, including the United States, are preparing various scenarios if it does start to get worse. But we also know that right now, what is effective is empowerment of the Haitian National Police to solve the situation themselves, and support for the Haitian people through humanitarian support and others, while at the same time we're holding the political class and the economic class to account.
Now, he didn't say what does worse mean or what that threshold would be. He said the focus really is on trying to make sure that the UN resolution from last fall holds in terms of getting a free flow of food and fuel and medicine to the people of Haiti. So that was the first part that stood out to me as well. Of course, he was asked many questions about conversations he might have had today with the Mexican president about its energy strategy as it moves towards nationalizing its energy sector, something Canada and U.S. do not want to see happen because that would shut out Canada and U.S. investment and certainly lead to trade disputes. He clearly said that he made the case that that would not be a good thing to do. Certainly wouldn't be good for Mexico, but it sounds like that the case still needs to be made further, that he didn't convince him 100% yet not to go that route. And finally, he was asked about a domestic issue, the McKinsey contract. If you remember that story, Andrew, it's about how under the Trudeau government, contracts have ballooned with McKinsey. It's a global consulting firm, and they've gone from, I think, $2 million to $66 million in that time, certainly much more than they used to spend. And he was asked in French, whether he thinks that's a problem. And he actually said, while he didn't necessarily agree with the parliamentary review that the opposition's asking for, he did say he's asked two ministers, both the Public Service and Procurement Minister and the Treasury Board President, to look into the numbers and where that money went and what it was for. So he didn't completely brush that aside.
Okay, and then just back to the summit. So what does Trudeau say was accomplished at this summit?
Well, there were the announcements about a fix for the Nexus program, the investment for a missile defense system for Ukraine, as well as, of course, President Biden coming in March. But he also talked about how today, today's meetings really laid the groundwork, for Canada's critical mineral strategy, and that, while there might not be any announcements today on investments into Canada, these are the kind of talks that lead to announcements down the road.
And Canada and Mexico, Karina, just got a ruling in their favor from the trade panel against the U.S. What can you tell us about that? That's around the auto sector, right?
Yeah, so this is about the rules of origin, and the U.S. had argued for a much more restrictive definition of what is sort of made in North America that would have benefited the U.S. auto parts sector, not so much the Canada and Mexico one. They had argued for that the definition in the trade pact should be less restrictive, and Canada and Mexico have won the day on that. And I believe that the trade minister has commented on, of course, how great that is, and they're happy for that. I should note that this confirmation of this decision and this ruling came out today, a day after the President of the United States, Joe Biden, had already left the meetings. But certainly that's a victory for Canada and Mexico so far.
Karina, thank you. The CBC's Karina Roman, live in Ottawa.